What is up there? Welcome to a brand new video on 414 Anime. In today's video, we will be looking into the timeline differences between Origami. Data Live did their take on the messing with time and the differences that occur when you meddle with such things, and in my opinion, they did it really well. It's easy to make these things overcomplicated or, the complete opposite when dealing with this kind of storyline, but it was done with great effect here. Now, the timeline differences take place in season 3 of the anime, and in today's video, we're going to look into the differences that took place with Origami from her personality to her appearance. In doing so, of course, there will be spoilers, so just a heads up. As always, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with a fellow fan of the series. For more Data Live videos, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss future Data Live content. And while you wait for more videos, why not check out my Data Live playlists for character facts and Data Live lore. Anyway, with that being said, grab yourself a beverage, let's roll intro and get straight into the video. Origami, upon becoming a spirit, traveled back 5 years into the past with the help of Kurumi and her 12th bullet, Yud-Bet. Origami's plan was to travel into the past to track down and kill the spirit that had murdered her parents. Once in Tengu City of the past, she ran into Phantom, who she instantly held responsible for the death of her parents and went on a blind rampage despite Phantom telling her that she had nothing to do with it. The big plot twist here, of course, was that in her rage, one of the shots intended for Phantom was actually the shot that killed her parents, and the angel-like spirit the young Origami saw 5 years ago was none other than her future self. The Origami from the future could only look on in complete disbelief as she desperately tried to come to terms with the truth of her parents' death. Understandably, the overwhelming emotions combined with the very dark truth of what had just happened caused Origami to completely shut down, and this of course led her to inverse. The effects of Kurumi's Yud-Bet eventually wore off, and Origami came back to her timeline in her inverse form, bringing back destruction with her. Kurumi, who, strangely for her, felt blame for the outcome and decided to send Shido into the past to stop Origami. Shido failed in his attempt as the outcome didn't change. However, he saved the young Origami from a building that was about to collapse on her and comforted her after this truly shocking event. He vowed to carry all of Origami's sadness and hate, and to be the one that she could truly depend on. Origami didn't know who this person was at the time. She asked his name and if he meant every word he had just said, to which he agreed, as well as giving his name, Shido Itsuka, to her. Origami agreed to give everything to him. She said that she would never cry again, but she would also never smile again, as all of her joy and sadness were now Shido's, but her hate, that was hers and hers alone. This had an effect on the future as Origami became dependent on Shido from that moment on. She entrusted all of her emotions to him and started down her path as an avenger. And it's interesting, going as far back as episode 1 of the anime when the two first supposedly meet. Origami knew who Shido was because of his trip to the past, but this Shido was yet to do that and had no idea how the most famous girl in their school knew who he was. Anyway, going back to the past, Shido, who was left with the feeling of complete failure as he was unable to stop the future Origami from killing her parents, changing, what seemed like nothing, then got another chance to travel to the past again and this time hopefully stop Origami. In order to do this, he tracked down the Kurumi of that time and convinced her to use Yud-Bet on him again. This time his plan was to try and stop Phantom from encountering Origami in the first place, but was unsuccessful, so he decided to rush to the location of the young Origami and her parents. And without thinking, he pushed Origami's parents out of the way of the blast and took the full hit himself, saving her parents. Shido then woke up in his own timeline and a lot had now changed. I guess the main difference that occurred was that no one but Shido knew who Origami was. Now, she still existed in this timeline, but she never joined Rise High or was in any way part of the original group, I guess you could say. Understandably, this was obviously pretty hard for Shido to take at first, as he would often glance over at the empty seat in the classroom, which, was once hers, but learned to think that he was happy as long as Origami was, of course, wherever it was that she was now. The rest of the group only knew a spirit known as Devil. The spirit was also known as the Spirit Hunter, which we and Shido know as Origami's Origami's inverse form, but we will dive into that a bit later on in the video. So now, as we know, Shido was successful in saving Origami's parents, but sacrificed himself in front of the young Origami to do so. Now, because of this, Origami still ended up joining the AST. Shido's sacrifice made Origami feel powerless in that moment, and she made a promise to herself that she would never let someone die protecting her again. Now, her time in the AST this time around was rather different. The most standout piece of information that we have was that Origami actually questioned if it was right for the AST to try and kill the spirits. Now, based on the Origami we are familiar with, this is a huge change. Unfortunately, the wheel of fate can often not be changed no matter how hard you try, as Origami's parents still died. However, it was a year later, this time in a car accident. Sticking with the fate theme, Origami eventually becomes a transfer student at Rising High, and Shido is shocked to see her. This new timeline Origami has much longer hair than the old one and has a very innocent look about her. The most noticeable difference appearance-wise, I guess you could say, was that Origami was actually smiling. The new version of Origami was just so much calmer, much more cheerful than the one he knew. She had a shyer nature to her, and she was definitely a lot more normal, I guess you could say, than the old timeline version. Interestingly, the old Origami still resides within her. She is suppressed deep down inside her for the sake of her own sanity, as the old Origami is still in a chaotic state of despair from when she was inversed 5 years prior. Not only is the old Origami still residing within her, but her spirit powers too. The new Origami has no idea that she is a spirit, namely devil in this timeline. And whenever Origami senses any spirit power, the hatred of the old Origami within her ignites and takes complete control of her body, transforming into her inverse form, complete with its powers. While this happens, the new Origami is completely unconscious, and once she awakes, has no memory of what had just happened, only that she had passed out again. Now, the old Origami had also begun to appear in the new Origami's date with Shido, as her classic super strange, super stalker actions began to manifest at the absolute horror of the normal Origami, who had no clue as to why she was acting this way. Now, she did eventually meet the old Origami, and the two eventually fuse in order for Shido to be able to seal her. What's interesting following this is that Origami now has a split personality per se. Of course, if she wasn't already weird enough, right? Origami, who had now regained all the memories from the old Origami, cut her hair to the old shorter length style again. And it's mentioned that both timelines of Origami's personality had now merged, though her new personality is the more dominant due to her body being hers in this timeline. However, the old personality tends to become more dominant when she is around Shido or in one of her competitions against Toka. For me, the most interesting thing about the personality merge is that Origami has personal debates in her own mind. Each side is represented by an angel and a devil, and it's actually the devil that is the more reasonable one of the two, whereas the angel tends to make Origami follow her own desires. The angel is represented by Origami's old appearance, whereas the devil is represented by her new timeline appearance with the longer hair. Following this, the biggest reveal upon the personality merge was that she says that the old Origami's personality was never actually in love with Shido, but it was that she was dependent on him due to his vow to carry all of her emotions on his first attempt at saving her parents. And now she had her old memories, she was now ready to reclaim her emotions that she had given to Shido 5 years ago. And following the date the two had in this new timeline, she was now genuinely in love with him and was not going to surrender him to Toka anytime soon. It's also worth mentioning here that her super stalker, super weird ways have only intensified since this. Poor Shido. She also said that her hatred for spirits had now gone since she now knows the truth about her parents. However, her angel still remains the enemy of Toka's. And there we go, that was the differences between Origami in both timelines. I hope you enjoyed this one and didn't find it too confusing. Timeline differences can get rather complicated, but again, I will sing the praises of how well Data Live has handled their take on it. They just absolutely kill it when it comes to character development and story. Data Live is just one of those shows that offers so much more than it advertises, and its fanbase truly appreciate that. But what do you guys make of the timeline differences, and which of Origami's personalities do you prefer before the merge? And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more Data Live videos like this, make sure to smash the like button and share the video with a fellow fan of the series. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. There are plenty more Data Live videos just like this coming, and I don't want you to miss a single one. As always, a huge shout out to you for supporting me on Patreon. You are a huge part of my journey, and I couldn't do this without your support. This video was of course a Patreon exclusive for quarter 3 of 2021. Each quarter I release videos like this exclusively for my Patreon, so if you're watching this in quarter 4 onwards, then please check out my Patreon to see which videos are available now. But that is it from me. Till next time, my fellow weebs. Peace!